Hello, and welcome to the Alchemist Inkwell.
This is your spiritual podcast for grounded people.
I love how you're like talking about how it counts it down and you over talk the countdown.
I did. I did not manage my time well on that one.
Like it literally counts you down. Oh, that was great.
It's a big energy day. So for anybody who doesn't know, by the way, I'm KristaLyn. This is Emily.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
It's Monday in our world, in the space that this is being recorded. Monday, the 21st of April. And
Easter
some major
Monday.
Mr. Monday. Moon Day has brought some interesting headlines into our sphere. Mm-hmm. And it's kicking off a period of time in the astrology, both in real-time astrology and in the metaphorical astrology for the Aries ingress for the United States specifically. Given the headlines of, regarding the Pope and things, I want to really be specific about that. When I talk about the metaphorical timing for the United States, that does not necessarily include things that are happening outside of the United States. Do things that are happening outside of the United States affect us? Absolutely. So you have to really be discerning about how far you go with certain things. That being said, we want to talk about astrology and stuff this week.
Yeah, April is super Apriling right now, and it's making me really upset.
But
okay,
we're almost done.
Yeah, but it can still fuck right off.
It can. It can. I'm okay with that too. Bring on the May. I would like to have I was gonna say I'd like to have a new birthday. I just did my solar return for next year, and it's just like we're good. It's gonna be fine. We survived. We survived the year, which I couldn't say for other years.
All I'm going to say is that I hope mine is better. And I'm so sorry to say that. But
I'll be doing yours soon. And I have a feeling yours will be better.
I know.
It always is. Your natal promise is better.
I know. I'm so sorry.
Don't take me as an example, you guys.
No, don't. Not in that way. I will say though, like, God, this April is so April-y, and I just dislike April so much. It's just not my space. And I will also say, we're talking, like I said, it's Easter Monday, which is also the day that the Pope died. And we know that there's a lot of stuff there. So when you listen to this will have happened in the past for you. For us, it is happening at present. It's right now.
Yeah.
We know that more headlines and things are going to come out about it this week. This week is to me, it feels like, those balance boards with the ball and you're standing on it and you're balancing and you could go to the side, you could go to that side, but you're just trying to hover there for a second. It's not like a one wheel, but what are they called? Bongo boards. It feels like a bongo board.
Yeah.
That's what this week feels like on a little human level, meaning just us down here.
Individually.
For those in the big scope, the big players on the planet, if that makes sense. I don't think it feels very fiery for them.
I was going to say, I have the same thing I said on my live this morning too. It feels from a personal level, at an individual level, it feels like it's too quiet. And then we get a headline and we're like, whoa, but then it gets too quiet. And I think there's a lot of probably damage control happening on higher levels, but also because of other people in those same higher levels making really I want to say reactive decisions or impulsive decisions or just annoying decisions. Same thing along with the keywords of the fire element, like you're thinking. There are people at the higher level right now that do not belong at the higher level. And they're causing problems for people who would at least maintain a sort of decorum at the higher level. I'm not saying they're great either, but the stability at those levels is ridiculous, especially when it comes to things like following procedures and, maintaining respect and those kinds of things. And right now, of course, I'm thinking about how on the 20th, according to the Aries ingress for the United States, if you use a technique called primary directions, we do have the rising of most of the planets happening all at once because they were so close together on March 20th during the Aries ingress. Mm-hmm. Saturn, which was conjunct the North Node, and Neptune is rising right now. And throughout this week, we will see the rise of the Sun, of Venus, and of Mercury all happening. So there's going to be a lot of new topics engendering themselves this week. How much of that we will hear about as the people, I'm not sure of, because the moon, which represents the people, is far away from those things. Mm-hmm. So it's very interesting to me to think about what's actually happening and how much we get to know or hear about it just yet. Because again, it's the rising, right? The culminating of the story is where it all comes to light, comes to understanding, blah, 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 blah. And so we are at the introduction, the call to action or call to adventure area.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
I will say it is a lot. I like that you describe it as a call to action, because that's what it feels like this week in a lot of ways. Is like, hey, we've seen what's going on. We understand the direction it's going to go in, and we know that direction is bad. We know that this is not good. So now it's finally like, what are we going to do? That being said, and I do just want to say for everyone, we are scared in our own ways too. And I know that everything online feels extra scary. We've talked about it a lot on here of like, there's a lot of scary headlines, there's a lot of scary things, etc. happening. I will say the main affirmation I personally have been using is I trust the universe too much to let this fear win. Because I do. And I know that might feel like, but I don't. Bad things happen all the time. I understand bad things happen all the time. But also, I do trust the universe innately. I do. And I think good things happen there. I can hear you typing.
I'm sorry.
What are you typing?
I used to be able to do that without... I just had an idea that I needed to send to our manager. And I wanted to make sure I'm sorry, guys. Well, you used to not be able to hear me doing that. Dang it, good technology.
Dang. But yeah, so if you want to use that affirmation of like, I trust the universe too much to like live in this fear all the time, if if you want to use that to help you navigate it, I think it's a really good week to practice that a little bit, and just to sit with that energy of like, what does it feel like to trust the universe, and how does that show up in my life, and those types of things. It's really just going to help. It really helps just put a little bit more into perspective and remind yourself you're not powerless. Like, I am full of power. I am a powerful being. Those types of things can also just really help. Yeah. Just want to acknowledge that, because we don't know what has happened by the time you listen to this podcast, but just looking at the energy of this week, it's real spiky, and it's really emotional too, but that's just because April sucks. So
yeah. So to confirm that, like when I look into the energy of the week, again, I see it's like a flat line and then a spike. And that's really jarring, right? When you're kind of like waiting for something to happen, you get really anticipating about it. And then when it does, it almost spooks you more. And so I feel like we're kind of on the edge of our seats with that. And of course, at the same time, we do have this applying aspect between Mars and Pluto, which I think is probably for me one of the highlight aspects of this week in real time. And it's squaring off with where the moon is going to be new. The moon is new, exalted. Venus is exalted too. Like, it should be this really amazing new moon in her favorite sign with her ruler doing all right too. And of course, Mars and Pluto have to square off and oppose each other to that whole situation. Like, all of our lunations have been with aspects of something this year that has made it like, well, it could be just another lunation, except. And so this time the except is this Mars Pluto opposition, which is very spiky. It is very, like, surprise, here's another battle you didn't know you were having. And I think we're all a little bit exhausted with that at this point. And I will say, I don't think the exhaustion that we have, to be very rational, I don't think the exhaustion that we have is going to find grounding over the next year or so. I think one of the things that we are doing, that we have been saying on this podcast, particularly you, Em, for a while, is we need to get comfortable with discomfort. Yep. No, I'm not saying it's doom and gloom. Yes, I am saying we are rebuilding things and we are getting rid of things that aren't needed so that we can make space for things that are. We are manifesting on a collective level, if you want to put it that way. We are living at a time of many aspects happening over each other. Lots of things on a big scale happening at the same time. And that is a time to be alive. So my recommendation, of course, is take your islands where you can find them, and we can find them with this new moon. Does it have stuff happening? Of course it does, but it's still an exalted new moon in Taurus with an exalted ruler. Find your comforts, and I was saying this earlier too, where I have certain things in my luggage that I know help me maintain a semblance of my routine when I travel, because I don't like having my routine disrupted. So I take as much of it with me as I can. I have that minimum routine maintenance. Figure out what your minimum routine maintenance is, so that no matter where you are, no matter what's happening around you, you have some things that ground you in that security, that safety, that feeling of being resourced. That's how I would use this moon.
What day is it again? Did you already say it?
It's going to be on the 20th.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, it is almost a week from today, right? So it's Sunday?
Yeah, it's on Sunday.
Yeah, because it's really interesting, because manifestation, for some reason right now, speaking to the new moon, it really is a big spike in energy collectively. I think we have a lot more power to manifest right now at our fingertips. And I wonder if it's because I haven't channeled in on this super intensely, but I do wonder if it's because we all kind of backed off of manifestation a little bit over the last couple of years because there were so many things happening. And now we're in a space where we like need something and we can manifest things. And I wonder if it's also part of the way that like we're breaking this idea that things are impossible or that we can't affect change or whatever from any corner of the world that we're in, because you absolutely can, and manifestation is one of those ways. So I'm feeling that that's going to be a big thing. And with this new moon, it's the first time we can manifest since eclipse season, which is lovely. We love that. We love a time to manifest. Okay. So I think calling in stuff, I think actually it's like kind of a little bit of a dream big energy when I look at it. It's like, what do you want right now? Like, genuinely. And it's not like, oh, I want these things, blah, 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 blah. And then be like, well, that's not going to happen with the state of the world. It's like, no, I want these things and I'm going to figure out a way to have them in some way. So we're manifesting that. It feels like the type of manifesting that you demand instead of request when I look at the energy of it, which is again, that pulling your resources and being like, I'm going to have this thing and this is what's going to happen. And that's when I look at the energy, that's what it's like, seeming more like to me.
Yeah. Well, and again, pulling your resources together is what do you need to hold you over until you can make that a reality? Because we are having to get active about it. You know, the energy that I'm seeing is a lot like the protests, some that I've been able to participate in, and I'm still planning to. There's a May Day one coming up that I plan on going to, and I'm starting to take it a little bit more because they're happening so regularly and they're happening with such planning at this point that I'm like, cool, I'm going to start using these as ritual. I'm going to start making the walk of the protest and the moments of the protest ritual magic and ceremonial magic. So the signs that I take and the materia I bring with me will be something to turn the collective, you know, intentions that we have in those group moments into actual spell work and see if I can't amplify that a little bit more. So if anybody wants to do that too in your location, feel free.
Yeah, it's definitely, I will say, we've talked about this too. There's protests. I'm glad they're becoming more of the thing. I do think in the next couple weeks, specifically like later into May, I think we're going to see other widespread acts of dissent that are not just protests. Because we all know, I think a lot of us are getting frustrated with the protests. Because it's not enough. It's not enough.
No.
Like at all. But because now we are getting really organized with protests, I do think that it will go to that next level in the next little bit of time. So if you're feeling, especially this week, because this week is so fucking emotional and it's so triggering. Like this week is just full of triggery energy. It's very like poke your buttons and laugh about it type of
Mars
space.
And Pluto.
It's just dumb. But it's a poke your button and laugh about it week. This week is historically always really triggering for me. Like this specific week from April 20th to about the 27th is always just really rough going for me. So I know that on a personal level, but looking at the energy, I was like, oh, great. Doubling down. Awesome. Love that. It's fine.
You will have support.
Yeah.
And empathy.
Yeah. But if you're feeling the frustration that's coming with feeling like there's a lack of action happening, I do think we're about to take the step up to the next stage of action as a collective. We're just not there yet, so we're just feeling the frustration. So just to know that on a personal level, there's a lot of catalyzing things occurring right now, and there's so many happening that we're kind of missing some of them too, but I think the catalyzing things are inherently, at the end of the day, going to work in the favor of the collective instead of the few. So just so you're aware, listening to this is where at least I'm seeing it go.
Yeah, and I think June and July are going to be very big situations. May, June, July are going to have some big transitions. All of the outer planets this year move signs. Most of them walk back. So we have a lot of the ideas of change coming into play. Then we put them into development. Then we put them into action. They go into action next year when the planets actually move to stay. Pluto is moving to stay. Jupiter is moving to stay. Saturn is moving and coming back. Neptune has already moved, will go back. And Uranus will move and go back. And so there's a lot of what's not working. How can we experiment with what could work? How can we then take some time and make sure it will work and then do it? So that's, again, some of the situations that I see where this is a building year. It's a trial and error situation kind of year, which can be frustrating because we're still in the period of waiting, but at least we're waiting for something that will cause change for sure.
Yeah.
I still remember when I was looking at the election and I knew the years that we had coming up, and I saw the potentials for revolution and the potentials for, you know, rebuilding and innovation and all that kind of stuff. And I had the hopes that I had for the outcomes of the election. The one thing I gave myself after the true outcome of the election was, at least now we get to be the ones making the change instead of resisting it. And I'm still holding on to that.
Yeah. Ooh, sorry, my phone just rang and I didn't want everyone to hear it. It's like, oh no. And I'm not entirely sure who that was a really weird call. Anyway, beside the point. Sorry if my face was like, It's okay. On that note too, remember you have guides. Remember you have a higher self. Remember there's deities that you can choose to work with and petition. Like now is a really powerful time to, I was feeling a lot of the like earthy return to magic in so many ways. And like, yes, magic is accelerated. We've talked about that. We've beat this horse a lot, but talking about like really right now, especially for just maybe like the next month or so, I'd say specifically more like the rest of April and the rest of May. Oh no. Okay, I yawned. Is doing like ritual based magic, doing like very tangible magic, doing like folk magic style things, doing very physical groundings, physical clearings, like something about engaging both with the earth and the energy is really, really important and impactful right now. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if a lot of people get new connections. We're going to talk about this in a second more of how we can help with this, but new connections with deities or new guides coming in or those types of things in the next like month, 2 months by summertime, because a lot of things feel like they've leaned in even more on planet stuff and are being even more involved in like a really, really tangible way.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I've seen it happening for people across the board, where it used to be people being like, oh, I have this guide and I have that guide. Now it's like people are being called out by deities to work with them, and we're seeing it happen more.
And their guides too. Like I think a lot of new guides are also coming in because we're all kind of collectively entering.
And a lot of guides have been showing up as guides and then being like, surprise, I'm actually a deity. So like that's been a really interesting situation to see unfold too. Yeah, which is totally valid. I had a guide that started out calling themselves Fernando and then ended up going through phases of things as I was ready to acknowledge them.
Yeah, so it can be different ways. On that note, we are excited to announce the fact that we are doing Deity Academy again. Whoop whoop. Great lead in. Yeah, so last year, Deity Academy was so much fun. It was just the funnest thing. Like, we had such a blast. And basically what Deity Academy is, if you're like, what is that? It's a 4-month-long program. Basically, each month we cover a different pantheon of deities, and we give every attendee or enrollee
participant
a resource guide to our specific hand-chosen resources about that specific pantheon, so everyone can dive in and do their own research. Everyone's in a group together to like compare what deities are standing out to them, how that energy of that works, like all that. And then once a month for 4 months, we have a channeling call where we hop on and we actually do a deity channeling for that pantheon with you, where we will channel in and talk to that pantheon and give you information that we researched about it and things to pay attention to in our channeling and blah, blah, blah. And we'll have all the deities in our spaces, which is always an interesting adventure, to be totally honest. And it is so cool. And then this year we're also intentionally including a phasma box recording for each of the pantheons. So basically Krista and I will hop on a phasma box and talk to them, and you will actually get to hear the deities like speak out loud through the phasma box, which is a type of paranormal investigation technology, but also works for higher vibrational things such as deities, guides, elementals, you name it, fairies. They can all also talk through the box.
Yep.
And so we will talk to the pantheons through the box too. It's going to be super fun. I love doing this. I really do. Deity work is kind of my bread and butter and where I really got started doing my own spiritual path. Obviously, I've been psychic forever. We've talked about this. But as far as my own path goes, it started with Hellenic polytheism. And I was a very active Hellenic polytheist for multiple years and did all of the rituals and all of the holidays and all of the research, whatever. So deity work is like really, really, it's something I'm so passionate about, you know? And so getting to share that with others is really cool.
Yeah, and we're going to be adding in every month you'll get a ritual to do to be able to connect on a more like physical kind of elemental materia level. And there was something else I was going to say. There was something else, but I forgot what it was.
Blowing your thought back.
We're going to do rituals, and there's a group that's going to be associated with it. And also people who join this year are going to get the recorded sessions from last year, not any Phasma box sessions or anything, but the recorded sessions from last year as part of a Deity Academy library, which you will then have access to. So you'll be able to join this year's pantheons, 4 of them live, but you'll also get access to the 4 pantheons from last year that you can watch and kind of get in through there as well.
Yeah. So this year, the pantheons that we're focusing on, right out the gate, we're going to start off, the program starts May 1st, by the way. So by the time you're listening to this, you can go to our website, thealchemistinkwell.com, and you can find Deity Academy, and you can enroll and register. It will be live by the time you hear this. It starts May 1st, though, and we are starting off the month of May with the Norse pantheon. So yes, that is our Freya, Odin, Loki pantheon. That is like the most popular one that was requested. I'm really excited to talk about one. we're going to see if they even talk to me, because I don't have beef with them, but they don't like talking to me, even though they're my people. But I'm really excited to also address a lot of the white supremacist shit that's been appropriated from those cultures, which is so profoundly unfair. And it's going to be really cool because we will then go to Iceland in June. And so we'll be able to share with anyone who's in Deity Academy our experiences literally with the Norse gods while we're there.
Yeah.
Which is really cool, honestly. And I'm really excited to dive into that. And if you're going on the Iceland trip and you do Deity Academy, you're going to have a lot more information about the deities. We're going to share, obviously, it with everyone. But if you're doing Deity Academy, it's going to be a lot more profound.
Yeah.
Before Iceland.
So if you're traveling with us at all for the next year, this is a Deity Academy for you, because yes, it is inspired by the places we are going. It's going to be Norse first. Then the second month is going to be Incan, because we're going to Peru next year, which you can still jump in on. We're also doing Hindu for our Thailand trip. And then the fourth pantheon is actually the Abrahamic pantheon, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah. So with we wanted to focus them around the trips in a lot of ways, because a lot of people are coming there, but also these are big pantheons that are kind of coming into play a lot right now too. If you're like the Incan is coming into play, we're actually getting a lot more focus on like Central and South American different pantheons. There are multiple. Obviously the Mayan and the Aztec are the ones that are talked about the most. We will probably do those in future spaces, but we want to talk about the Incans specifically, one, because we're going, but also like when you think of, South American ancient civilizations, Machu Picchu is a huge part of that. Are you frozen?
You're frozen on my end, so probably both of us.
Okay, now I'm back.
Okay.
That was super weird.
Yeah.
But Machu Picchu is a huge ceremonial and powerful site with that as well. And as well as those deities actually getting a little bit of a call out because they are so overlooked as far as their scope of the pantheons of South America.
And like I was just going to say, if you're asking the Incan pantheons, there are some places in the world where that never went out. So it's really good to remember, regardless of how centralized the pantheons are at a given moment, that giving them recognition is never a bad thing. Yeah,
absolutely. And with speaking to like the Hindu pantheon as well, we're going to talk about like Hinduism a little bit. But the same way that we talked about the Shinto pantheon last year, like it's still a very active religion, right? Like very, very much so. This is still a very active religion that is occurring. So we're not at all going to be speaking in like the sense of like within the religion. We're just going to be sharing the myths, the lore, and talking to the deities of that specific structure, that specific pantheon. So Hindu, and this one's really, really important. I'm super passionate about this actually because it has been colonized to death by the yoga community, by the energy healing community, by people who are like really into like starseed level stuff, by anyone who's really focused on karma and karmatic work. All of that is Hindu pantheon. If you've said Om, you've connected with the Hindu pantheon.
If you've worked on your chakras, you've connected with the Hindu pantheon.
Yeah.
It's all there. If you've done yoga, you have done practices that are of the Hindu practice.
So we're going to talk about like the deities there, and also hopefully like deconstruct some of the appropriation and just colonization on a spiritual level that has occurred from that. That's why most often, if you've done any of my programs, I'll be like, I don't talk about chakras, I talk about energy temples, because that's what I work with, and I don't understand the ancient chakra system well enough to be like, I'm going to talk about chakras. Because even though both of us have been certified in Reiki, chances are good we don't even know fully the extent of the other person's certification, because Reiki has been taken and like multiplied in so many different ways. It's a very powerful system, but there's not one defining thing that is like, this is Reiki, because it was taken.
And even in mine, like I can trace my lineage back in Reiki. I still don't care. Like that's not enough for me to be able to say I learned from so-and-so who learned from so-and-so who learned from so-and-so. Somewhere those links in the chain could have been washed out, and I don't want to deal with that. I like to go as close to the source of the chain as possible when I'm learning, and I don't feel like I had that opportunity with Reiki. Even though I went back as close to the source as I could get, it didn't feel close enough for me. I prefer when we do our own research and things like this.
Yeah, exactly. And then to speak to the Abrahamic pantheon really quick, we're not going to be talking about like the Christian pantheon. That is not the guys that it is. It is the beings that have existed around that. So we're talking angels, we're talking fallen angels and the myths there. Probably some demon stuff is going to come in there as well. Saints, like those types of energies. And so if you've ever, whether you were raised that way or ever been interested in this sort of stuff, we're going to more talk about the actual pantheon that does exist here, not the doctrine that the pantheon has had to fit into.
Yes. And that's very, like Jesus, yes, we can talk to Jesus. The Holy Spirit, it's a thing. We can talk to that. So like all of those different things, we may also bring in some of the Canaanite energies because a lot of clarity needs to be had. A lot of clarity, especially thanks to translation errors and chosen translation errors, which is called propaganda, you guys. It's happened a lot. So we're going to clarify a lot of that because I'm very educated in this, not as educated as I want to be, but I am quite educated enough to help with this. We will get a lot of good resource material and proof of this as well, which I think in our current political, religious, cultural climate is really helpful.
And we will be approaching it just like every other polytheistic religion, and the pagan approach that we're taking to that, we will take to this. So I do want to be really clear. I know so many of you have been really wounded by this narrative, and I don't ever want anyone to feel uncomfortable in spiritual spaces because we're bringing this in. I just want you to be really, really know we are very intentionally bringing it in a pagan-esque perspective. The same way we would approach other deity work. So just to be super clear there, so no one feels uncomfortable.
We are allowing the spirits of entities and energies and deity energies of that pantheon to have their voice again, where it has been overshadowed by a narrative that is not accurate.
All that's to say, it's going to be super fun, and the phasma box is the best, honestly. So if you've listened a bunch, you maybe even know what the phasma box is. So a phasma box, like we said, it's a piece of paranormal technology that typically people use to speak to ghosts. It works really well. Like it works really, really well. But it also is hilarious because like hearing the different deities or whatever, like Hermes will play. It's not supposed to be able to play music, by the way. No. And it's only supposed to, it has a set number of words it's even allowed to say. And it says everything so far beyond, like it's programmed for like a certain amount of words, and that's not the amount of words we get.
It's not
so much
scanning
different.
for radio stations and pulling words off of that. That's a whole different device that is used in paranormal investigation.
It's not that. And then it'll just be like out of nowhere when we were talking to like Hermes last year, and I've talked to him since too. He'll like play a little tune before he says something, and you're like, of course you will. Okay. Like, sure. It's really cool. So getting to share that with everyone too is going to be really, really neat. But if you've been feeling honestly just a pull to do deity work in general, even if you're like, I don't feel necessarily connected to any of those pantheons, it is a crash course in deity work, like doing deity work in a high vibration aligned way, plus with support. So you always have people that you can keep talking to and connecting with if you do have a new deity pop in later on, etc. So that is there. And last year we covered the Hellenic, the Celtic, the Egyptian, and the Shinto pantheons. So if you're wondering like, whoa, how'd that go? You will get the recordings. It's not everything that we did last year by any means. It's just the base level call recordings, so you can have a little bit of information about that. But yeah, we're really excited. I'm stoked about it. It's really cool. And if we've said this before, and I'm just going to keep saying it again, is learning something new is absolutely the way that you get through fear. Learning something new is absolutely the way that you can help yourself feel more in control. And whether that is learning something new spiritually or learning how to like oil paint, like all valid things. So just, I cannot encourage all of you enough, whether it's with us or not with us, like doing new things. Also adventure. Those are the ways that we remember the good parts of the world.
Yeah. Also, when it comes to understanding your spirituality, there's a really great argument to be made for what's called comparative theology. And that's the idea that no one way of believing is complete without the other ways of believing. The metaphor that I'm actually using with my students right now, it's called circling the elephant. And it's if you blindfold people and put them all on a different part of an elephant, like one's at the tail, one's at the ear, one's at the trunk, one's at a foot, they're all going to describe this complete thing in very different ways. And they're all going to be correct, but they cannot, from their vantage point, understand the entirety of this giant concept. The same goes for us. We're all trying to understand a core concept of being, existing, creation, all of those things. And the more perspectives and vantages we take in, the more we can get a fuller picture. And that is one of the things I love most about what Deity Academy offers.
Yeah, it's super important. So do something where you learn something new, whether it's with us or not. Also, we do still have some spaces on our trips. You can actually check out. There's 2 spaces available in Iceland. That's almost done. Like I think the cutoff is next week.
Soon.
Yeah, so if you want to come with us to Iceland, we do have 2 spaces available, but the cutoff is soon. And honestly, it's going to be such a revolutionary and transformative trip. I already feel the energy of it, and it's just so powerful, especially if you've been working on like inner child or shadow work and you want a trip that helps close that out. This feels like playing make-believe in the forest when you're a little kid. Like that's what it feels like when I look at the energy of this trip, and we would love to have you on it. So hop on that as soon as possible, because it's literally going to close, and we would love that. If payment plans and stuff are still available, it's all still there. So we would love to have you in that adventure. And then I believe we have, I think, 1 spot left on Thailand. I don't know.
I think there's 1 left on Thailand. Yeah.
Yeah,
and then
I think
a couple left on Peru.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 left on Peru. So if you want to come with us we go to a different set of ruins every day, you guys. I can't, and they all have like sacred religion sites, all of the ruins that we go to in Peru. I think it's one of those trips where when we leave, I think many people are going to be able to see stuff with their physical eyes. Like, and I'm not just being like, I mean that wholeheartedly. And I think it's of course a choice, but I don't know, that level, I'm like, oh, I think this is that level of type of transformation, like big time.
Yeah, I definitely, when I look into the energy of that trip, there's something that we connect with on that trip that gives us a deeper understanding. It feels like there's an energy that we connect to that really walks with us through the trip. And I'm not sure what that is yet.
No.
Because I'm not there, but I will be.
Yeah, we'll get there.
And the food. I can't wait for the food. I'm sorry. I'm so excited about the food. Yeah.
I'm excited for the food in Thailand and Peru, not in Iceland, but that's okay.
We'll see how Iceland goes. I'm excited for the connecting with the earth in Iceland. You know, like there's a connection to nature, which is one thing, but there's a connection to the earth in Iceland that I'm really excited to explore.
All that is to say, like, lean on your communities this week, you guys. Vent sessions are your friend. If you need to just vent to your guides, that's helpful too. Like, vent sessions are your friend this week. Find a safe person to vent to. Maybe be their ventee, you know? Share that energy there, because this is a week where that's going to be needed. But next week, the energy it looks sunnier next week when I look at the energy, honestly. Where this one feels very like fiery and emotional and we're balancing on stuff. Next week has like a more sunny kind of quality to it.
Next week we will get... Well, next week Venus is going to move into Aries, which we'll talk about next week. But she does do that right before the next podcast comes out. So she'll move back into Aries. She'll be direct. She'll be direct, which is the thing, right? In Aries prefers to be direct and that kind of thing. So Venus is responding to a call to action, but she's also going to conjoin with Neptune, which brings a sense of, when I look into the energy of it, it reminds me of when you're doing something and you just know it's the right thing. And so you're taking aligned action and you're just trusting the process. So I can see that coming up too.
Yeah. We'll see how it comes up. When I look at it, I'm like, ooh, okay, I feel like there's some really cool energy that comes in next week. I think probably more personally, and I think there's some pauses that happen on like some larger scale worldwide stuff. There's feels like some holds, some delays, some pauses of like, nah, you don't get to do that right now. Like, hold on, we're going to hold that off. But on a personal level, it's just, I don't know, it's sunny, brighter, the energy moves faster. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it, honestly. Because that needs to happen. Let's be real.
Yeah. We deserve a break.
Right. Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for being here. We know this is kind of a shorter episode, but the last couple episodes were longer as we detailed Egypt so thoroughly.
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Next week, the episode is going to be live on my YouTube, so feel free to join me it's at KristaLyn Sofia on YouTube, and you can be part of the episode. And then the week after, we'll be doing the recap of Sacred Spaces with Rebecca the Ghost Guide, so that'll be fun too. We've got some good guests coming up for the podcast, you guys.
Yeah, you're just really going to like them. Also on that note too, if you wanted to be like, oh, I want to dive deeper into the Egypt, my first of my series of our videos from Egypt should be launching today, actually the day of the recording. So when you listen to this, it's available. But yeah, that's a thing. It will be up on my YouTube. So if you want to check out like some of our actual footage, there you go. All right. Well, amazing. We hope that you are navigating okay and that you take all this energy and you 1, 2, 3 go make some magic.